The moment Ethan Calder heard the waitress speak Arabic like a UN diplomat, he knew his carefully controlled world was about to crack wide open. She wasn't supposed to be here. This woman with downcast eyes and a server's apron, navigating geopolitical landmines in three languages while balancing a tray of champagne. And when she locked eyes with him across that Boston hotel ballroom, something shifted. Fear, recognition, a warning. What Ethan didn't know yet was that saving her would mean burning down everything his father built. Stay with me until the end. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Hit that like button. Let's go. The Bristol Grande wasn't just a hotel. It was a statement. Ethan Calder stood near the marble pillar at the edge of the grand ballroom, watching 200 of Boston's wealthiest pretend to care about sustainable architecture. His sustainable architecture. The hotel's reopening after a $50 million renovation was supposed to be his victory lap, proof that at 32, he'd stepped out of his late father's shadow and built something that mattered. Instead, he was thinking about his daughter's science project. Mr. Calder? His assistant Michelle appeared at his elbow with a tablet. The mayor's ready for photos. 2 minutes. You said that 10 minutes ago. Then I'm consistent. Ethan didn't look at her. His eyes tracked a server weaving through the crowd, dark hair pulled back tight, movements efficient but unremarkable. She'd been circling the room for 20 minutes, and something about her set off alarms he couldn't name. Michelle sighed. Your mother's asking why you're hiding. I'm not hiding. I'm observing. She used the word sulking. She would. The server stopped near the ambassador from Qatar, her tray perfectly balanced. Ethan watched her smile, polite, forgettable, and offer champagne. The ambassador waved her off without looking up. She moved on. Nothing unusual, except Ethan had built a career on reading people, and this woman was performing. Fine. He handed Michelle his empty glass. Tell the mayor I'll be there in... The server's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and something flickered across her face. Not annoyance, panic. She set down her tray on a side table and stepped toward the service hallway, one hand already lifting the phone to her ear. Ethan moved before he decided to. Mr. Calder? 2 minutes, he said again, and followed. Outside. The hallway was quieter. Ethan kept his distance, staying near the corner where the ballroom noise still provided cover. The server had her back to him, phone pressed tight to her ear, and when she spoke, his entire world tilted. Naam, afham, lakin al-wad huna mu'akkad. Arabic. Fluent, formal Arabic. Not the textbook kind. This was diplomatic registry, the language of closed-door negotiations. Ethan's pulse kicked up. He knew enough Arabic to recognize what he was hearing, even if he couldn't follow every word. This wasn't a woman calling her family. La astati al-haraka al-an, thalathat ayyam, arba'ah ala al-akthar. She was asking for time. 3 days, 4 at most. Fahimt, na'am, saufa atasil. The call ended. She stood there for a moment, head bowed, shoulders tight. Then she straightened, smoothed her apron, and turned around, and froze. Ethan didn't move. Neither did she. Up close, she was younger than he'd thought. Maybe 30. No makeup, no jewelry. The kind of face you'd forget in a crowd, except for her eyes. Dark, sharp, and currently filled with the kind of dread that made his chest tighten. Sorry, Ethan said, raising both hands slightly. Didn't mean to startle you. You didn't. Her voice was quiet. American, unaccented. Nothing like the person who'd just been on the phone. Can I help you with something, sir? That depends. He kept his tone casual. You always take calls in Arabic during your shift? Her face went carefully blank. I don't know what you're talking about. Right. Ethan studied her. And I didn't just hear you negotiating something in formal diplomatic Arabic while wearing a server's uniform. She didn't blink. You must have me confused with someone else. Do I? For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The ballroom noise hummed behind them. Laughter, clinking glasses, a string quartet working through Vivaldi. I should get back, she said finally. Wait, but she was already moving, slipping past him with the same efficient invisibility she'd used all night. By the time Ethan turned, she'd disappeared into the crowd. He stood there, heart hammering, and pulled out his phone.
Michelle, he said when she answered. I need background on someone.
Nkui. Her name was Lena Hart. It took Michelle 4 hours to pull the file, and when Ethan read it in his office at 2 in the morning, he understood why she'd looked so afraid. Lena Marie Hart, age 30, born in Michigan, degrees in linguistics and international relations from Georgetown, fluent in 8 languages: Arabic, Mandarin, Farsi, Russian, French, German, Spanish, and English. Former interpreter for the State Department, specializing in Middle East policy. Former. Ethan scrolled down. In 2019, Lena had been part of a diplomatic mission to Jordan. 6 months later, classified documents appeared in the press. Transcripts of private conversations that torpedoed a peace negotiation and embarrassed 3 governments. Lena had been blamed, accused of leaking, fired, investigated, never charged, but never cleared. The file included a photo from her State Department ID. Same face, but different, confident, professional. The kind of woman who walked into rooms where wars got started and stopped. Now she was serving champagne at his hotel. Ethan sat back, staring at the screen. 8 languages, diplomatic training, access to classified information, and working for minimum wage. He reached for his phone, hesitated, then dialed anyway. It's 3 in the morning, Michelle said by way of greeting. I need to know if she's still on staff. Silence. The server? Lena Hart. Why? Because I want to hire her. Ethan, not as a server, as a consultant. For what? The Dubai expansion. Another pause. You're serious. Completely. Michelle sighed. You know your mother is going to lose her mind. She loses her mind twice a week. I'm used to it. Not like this. If you bring in someone with Lena Hart's history, then I bring in someone with Lena Hart's skills. Ethan kept his voice level. Find out if she's scheduled tomorrow. I want to talk to her. This is a terrible idea. Noted. He hung up and stared at Lena's photo for another minute before closing the file. Something didn't add up. People like her didn't just disappear into service jobs unless they were running from something. Or hiding. Basse. Lena showed up for her shift at 11 the next morning, and Ethan intercepted her before she made it to the staff room. Ms. Hart, do you have a minute? She turned, and this time the fear was faster. I'm about to clock in. This won't take long. He gestured toward a small conference room off the main lobby. Please. She hesitated, then followed him inside. Ethan closed the door and turned to find her standing with her arms crossed, chin up, defensive. I'm not in trouble, am I? She asked. No, opposite, actually. He leaned against the table. I want to offer you a job. Her expression didn't change. I already have one. I mean a real job, consulting work. Doing what? What you're good at. Languages, negotiation. I'm expanding into the Middle East, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, maybe Qatar. I need someone who understands the region, someone who can navigate the politics. Lena stared at him. You've got the wrong person. I don't think I do. Mr. Calder, I know who you are, Ethan said quietly. I know what happened in Jordan, and I don't care. Her face went white. You should. Why? Because everyone else does. Her voice was tight. You hire me, and people will ask questions. Your investors, your partners, your family. Let them ask. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. She looked away, jaw working. I can't. Can't or won't. Does it matter? Ethan watched her. She was scared, genuinely scared, and that bothered him more than anything in her file. What are you running from? He asked. Nothing. Lena, I need this job. She met his eyes. The one I have. I can't afford to lose it. You won't. Even if you say no to my offer, your position here is safe. Is it? She laughed, sharp. You think your mother's going to let a disgraced State Department interpreter keep working here once she finds out? Ethan frowned. How do you know about my mother? Everyone knows about your mother. Lena shook her head. She runs background checks on the cleaning staff.
You really think she won't notice me? She doesn't run HR. She runs everything. Lena moved toward the door. Thank you for the offer, Mr. Calder, but I'm not interested.
Wait, I mean it. She turned, hand on the doorknob. I keep my head down, I do my job, and I don't make waves. That's how I survive. You want someone to help with Dubai? Hire a consultant from Brookings. Hire someone from the UN. But don't hire me. Why not? Because I'm poison. She said it flatly, without drama. And you don't need that in your life. She left before he could respond. Said. Ethan tried to let it go. He lasted 3 days. On Thursday, he found Lena in the employee break room during her lunch shift, eating a sandwich and reviewing something on her phone. She looked up when he sat down across from her. Mr. Calder, hear me out, he said. 1 minute. She set down her phone. Fine. I don't think you leaked those documents. Lena blinked. Excuse me? I read the report. The timeline doesn't work. The leak happened while you were stateside for your brother's wedding. You weren't even in Jordan. That's not what the investigation said. The investigation was a cover-up. Ethan leaned forward. Someone framed you, and I think you know who. Lena's face went carefully blank again. Yes, you do. He kept his voice low. And I think that's why you're here, because whoever did it is still out there, and you're staying invisible until you figure out what to do about it. She didn't answer. Help me with Dubai, Ethan said. Work as my consultant. I'll pay you 5 times what you're making now, and I'll put resources behind finding out what really happened. Why? Lena asked quietly. Why do you care? Because you're wasted here. That's not a reason. Fine. Ethan sat back. Because my daughter's science fair project is due in 2 weeks, and I've been so buried in this expansion that I forgot until yesterday. Because my mother thinks I'm too soft to run the company, and my ex-fiancée keeps texting me about reconciliation even though she's engaged to someone else. Because I'm tired of everyone in my life wanting something from me except the truth. He paused. And because when I heard you speak Arabic, you sounded free, like you were finally using the part of yourself you're supposed to use. And I know what that's like, wanting to be something other than what everyone expects. Lena stared at him. 1 month, Ethan said. Consulting contract, flexible hours. If it doesn't work, you walk away, no questions asked. Your family, I'll handle my family. Your investors, I'll handle them too. Lena shook her head slowly. You don't know what you're asking. Then tell me. For a long moment, she was quiet. Then she looked down at her sandwich, her phone, the break room table. The person who framed me, she said finally, is connected. Like actually connected. Defense contracts, intelligence community, private military work. I tried to prove my innocence, and people told me to drop it. Not suggested, told. I got a visit from someone who made it very clear that pushing back would be dangerous. Who? I don't know his real name, but he works for a private contractor called Sentinel Solutions. Ethan frowned. I've heard of them. Everyone has. They do security consulting for corporations, governments, anyone who can pay. And they don't like loose ends. Lena met his eyes. If I start working for you, publicly, they'll notice, and they might decide I'm a problem again. Let them notice. Ethan, Mr. Calder, he corrected, then smiled faintly. Or just Ethan, if we're doing this. We're not doing anything. 1 month, he said again. You help me navigate Dubai. I help you figure out who framed you. Worst case, we both walk away with something useful. Lena studied him. You really think you can protect me from Sentinel Solutions? I think I can make it expensive for them to come after you. Ethan stood. But yeah, I'll protect you. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. She laughed, short, disbelieving. That's not how the world works. Maybe not. Ethan held out his hand. But it's how I work. Lena looked at his hand for a long moment. Then slowly she reached out and shook it. 1 month, she said. 1 month. The news broke faster than Ethan expected. By Monday, his mother had heard. By Tuesday, the board was asking questions. By Wednesday, his ex-fiancée, Victoria, showed up at his office unannounced. You hired who?
Victoria shut the door behind her and folded her arms. She was blonde, polished, and furious. Are you trying to destroy your reputation? Good morning to you too. Ethan didn't look up from his laptop. And I'm consulting with someone. Big difference. Lena Hart is a security risk. According to who? According to everyone. Victoria crossed to his desk. Ethan, she was fired from the State Department for leaking classified intel. Do you have any idea what that looks like? It looks like she was framed. Victoria laughed. Of course you'd think that. What's that supposed to mean? It means you have a savior complex. She leaned against his desk. You always have. Stray dogs, underdogs, anyone who looks like they need rescuing. I'm not rescuing anyone. Then what are you doing? Ethan closed his laptop. Hiring someone qualified. She served champagne here 2 weeks ago. And before that, she negotiated peace agreements in 3 languages. He stood. Victoria, I appreciate your concern, but this isn't your business. It is when it affects the company. You don't work for the company anymore. That landed. Victoria straightened, her expression cooling. I'm trying to help you. By telling me who I can hire? By reminding you that you have a daughter to think about. Her voice softened. Sophie deserves stability, not her father gambling the family business on some disgraced translator. Ethan's jaw tightened. Don't bring Sophie into this. She's already in it. You think the press won't notice? You think your competitors won't use this against you? Let them try. Victoria shook her head. You're making a mistake. Noted. She stared at him for another moment, then turned and left without another word. Ethan sat back down and opened his laptop again, but the words blurred. Victoria was wrong. She had to be. But a small, nagging voice in the back of his mind wondered if she had a point. Lena started the following Monday. Ethan set her up in a small office on the executive floor. Nothing flashy, but private. When she arrived, she looked around like she expected a trap. This is too much, she said. It's an office. It has a window. Most offices do. She set down her bag and turned to him. Your assistant doesn't like me. Michelle doesn't like anyone. Your head of security asked for my fingerprints. Standard protocol. Your mother called me at 7 this morning. Ethan winced. What did she say? That I should be very careful about the company I keep. Lena raised an eyebrow. I think she meant you. Sounds about right. Ethan leaned against the door frame. Ignore her. Hard to ignore someone who has your personal cell number. How did she... He stopped. Never mind. I don't want to know. Lena almost smiled. This is a terrible idea. You said that already. I'm saying it again. Noted. Ethan straightened. Ready to get started? On what? Dubai. He handed her a folder. We're meeting with potential partners next month. I need you to review the cultural protocols, flag anything that might cause problems, and help me not screw this up. Lena opened the folder, scanned the first page, and frowned. You're meeting with the Al Mansouri group? Yes. Why? They're old money. Very traditional. If you go in there with a standard Western pitch, you'll lose them in 5 minutes. What do I do instead? Build a relationship first. Business second. She flipped through the documents. And for the love of everything, don't mention your ex-fiancée. Ethan blinked. Why would I mention Victoria? Because she's in the background notes here as a potential investor liaison. Lena looked up. Is she involved in this deal? Absolutely not. Good. Because the Al Mansouris are conservative. They won't work with a man who's publicly tangled up with a woman he's not married to. We're not tangled. Doesn't matter. Perception is reality. Lena set down the folder. If you want this deal, you need to show them stability, family values, respect. I have a 6-year-old daughter, Ethan said. Does that count? It helps. But they'll want to see you as settled, trustworthy. She paused. Married would be better, but we can work around it. Ethan stared at her. You're serious. Completely. So what do I do? Bring Sophie to the initial meeting. Let them see you as a father. It'll soften the edges. Lena tapped the folder. And don't let your mother anywhere near them. She'll scare them off. Ethan laughed despite himself. You've met her once. Once was enough. For the first time in weeks, Ethan felt something loosen in his chest.
This might actually work. Okay, he said. What else? Lena smiled, small but real. Give me 2 days. I'll have a full brief for you. 2 days? I'm fast. Clearly. Ethan moved toward the door, then stopped. Lena? Yeah? Thank you. She tilted her head. For what? For taking a chance? Lena's smile faded slightly. Let's see if you still think that in a month. But 3 weeks later, Ethan stood in his daughter's school gymnasium, watching Sophie present her science project to a panel of very serious fourth graders. So basically, Sophie said, gesturing to her poster board, bees are dying because of pesticides. But if we plant more wildflowers, we can help them survive. And if bees survive, we get food. It's called an ecosystem. One of the judges, a kid in glasses, raised his hand. What kind of wildflowers? Native ones, like milkweed and coneflowers. I planted some in our backyard. Sophie pointed to a photo. See? My dad helped. Ethan smiled. He'd done more than help. He'd spent 4 Saturdays in the dirt with her, learning the difference between perennials and annuals while Sophie lectured him on pollinator habitats. The judges nodded, scribbled notes, and moved on to the next project. Sophie bounded over. How'd I do? You crushed it. Really? Really? Ethan crouched down. I'm proud of you, kiddo. She grinned, then glanced past him. Who's that? Ethan turned. Lena stood near the gym entrance, looking uncertain. That's Lena, he said. She works with me. Is she nice? Very. Can I meet her? Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Come on. They crossed the gym together. Lena saw them coming and straightened, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Hi, she said when they reached her. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You're not. Ethan gestured to Sophie. This is my daughter. Sophie, this is Ms. Hart. Just Lena is fine. She crouched down to Sophie's level. Your dad told me about your project, bees, right? Sophie lit up. Yeah, did you know that 1/3 of the food we eat depends on pollinators? I did, actually. That's amazing work. Thanks. Sophie studied her. You don't look like you work in a hotel. Lena blinked. What do I look like? A teacher, or maybe a spy. Ethan choked on a laugh. Lena's eyes widened, then she smiled. Definitely not a spy. That's what a spy would say, Sophie said seriously. Sophie. It's okay. Lena stood. She's not wrong. I used to work for the government. Doing what? Sophie asked. Translating, helping people understand each other. That's cool. Sophie glanced at Ethan. Can we get pizza? We're literally surrounded by cupcakes, but I want pizza. Ethan sighed. Fine. Lena, you want to join us? Lena hesitated. I don't want to intrude. You're not, Sophie said. Come on. Dad always gets pepperoni, but I like mushrooms. Mushrooms are good, Lena said. See, Dad? Lena gets it. Ethan looked between them, something warm settling in his chest. All right, pizza it is. Go on. They ended up at a place 2 blocks from the school. Vinyl booths, checkered floors, the smell of garlic and tomato sauce. Sophie dominated the conversation, talking about bees and her best friend Emma and how her teacher was nice but gives too much homework. Lena listened like Sophie was the most interesting person in the world. Your daughter's great, she said quietly, while Sophie was distracted by the jukebox. She is. Ethan watched Sophie scrolling through song options. She's the only thing I got right. I doubt that. You haven't seen my track record. Lena smiled. Fair. They were quiet for a moment. Then Lena said, I finished the Dubai brief. Already? Told you I was fast. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through notes. The Al Mansouri group is interested, but they want assurances. Cultural sensitivity training for your staff, local hiring commitments, profit sharing with regional partners. That's doable. There's one more thing. They want to meet you in person. In Dubai. Next month. Ethan frowned. That soon? They're testing you. If you're serious, you'll make the trip. I can't leave Sophie for that long. Bring her. He looked up. What? Bring Sophie. Show them you're a family man. It'll help. Lena met his eyes. And honestly, she'd love it. The Burj Khalifa, the Gold Souk, the desert. She's 6. So? I went to Cairo when I was 7. Changed my life. Ethan considered it. Sophie would love Dubai. She was obsessed with tall buildings and camels. You'd come with us? He asked. Of course. You need a translator. I thought you were a consultant. I'm both. Lena's smile faded slightly. Ethan, if you're going to do this deal, you need someone who understands the region. Someone they'll trust. And they'll trust you? More than they'll trust a billionaire from Boston. She paused. No offense. None taken. Sophie came back to the table, triumphant. I picked a song. What song? Ethan asked. You'll see. A moment later, Don't Stop Believin' started playing through the speakers. Ethan groaned. Lena laughed. This is perfect, Sophie announced, swaying in her seat. And despite everything, the uncertainty, the risk, the looming trip to Dubai, Ethan found himself agreeing. They flew to Dubai 3 weeks later. The flight was long, and Sophie spent most of it glued to the window, marveling at clouds and ocean, and eventually the sprawling cityscape of the UAE. It's so big, she whispered when they descended. Wait until you see it up close, Lena said from across the aisle. Ethan glanced at her. She'd been quiet for most of the flight, reviewing notes and making calls. But now, looking out at the city below, she seemed different, lighter. You missed this, he said quietly. Lena turned. What? This world, the work. She didn't answer right away. Then she nodded. Yeah, I did. Gitboik. The Al Mansouri Group's offices were glass and marble, overlooking the Persian Gulf. Ethan, Lena, and Sophie were escorted into a conference room where 3 men in traditional dress waited. The eldest, Omar al-Mansouri, stood and smiled. Mr. Calder, welcome. Thank you for meeting with us. Ethan shook his hand, then gestured to Lena. This is Lena Hart, my senior consultant. Omar nodded politely, then looked at Sophie. And who is this? My daughter, Sophie. Sophie stepped forward and, to Ethan's surprise, offered a small bow. Thank you for inviting us to your city. Omar's smile widened. You are very polite, young lady. My dad says manners are important. Your father is wise. They sat, and Lena smoothly transitioned into Arabic, introducing Ethan's vision for the Dubai expansion. Omar responded in kind, and for the next 20 minutes, Ethan watched them navigate cultural nuances he barely understood. But he understood results. By the time the meeting ended, Omar was smiling. We will discuss your proposal internally, Mr. Calder, but I must say, you have made a strong impression. Thank you. And your consultant, Omar nodded to Lena. She is very skilled. You are fortunate to have her. I know. Outside, Sophie grabbed Ethan's hand. Did we win? We did good, Ethan said. Lena smiled. Better than good. That night, after Sophie was asleep in their hotel suite, Ethan found Lena on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. You were incredible today, he said. Just doing my job. It's more than that. He joined her at the railing. You belong in rooms like that. Lena shook her head. I used to think so. You don't anymore? I don't know. She was quiet for a moment. When I lost my career, I thought my life was over. But maybe I just needed to figure out what else I could be. And what's that? She looked at him. I'm still figuring it out. Ethan held her gaze. For what it's worth, I'm glad you're here. Me too. The moment stretched between them, charged, uncertain. Then Lena's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face went pale. What is it? Ethan asked. Lena stared at the screen. I have to go. What? Lena? I'm sorry. She was already moving toward the door. I can't explain, but I have to leave. Now. Lena, wait. But she was gone. And when Ethan checked his own phone, he saw the message that had shattered everything. Unknown number. We know where you are, and we know who you're with. Walk away, or she disappears. Ethan stood on the balcony alone, staring at the message until the screen went dark. His hands were shaking. He read it again. We know where you are, And we know who you're with. Walk away, or she disappears. He tried calling Lena. Straight to voicemail. He tried texting. No response. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. The city lights blurred below him, and all Ethan could think about was the look on Lena's face when she'd seen her phone. Pure terror, the kind you can't fake. He went back inside and checked on Sophie. Still asleep, clutching her stuffed giraffe. He stood in the doorway and watched her breathe, his chest tight. Someone was threatening him, threatening Lena, and he had no idea who or why or what to do next. His phone buzzed. Michelle. It's midnight here, Ethan said when he answered. I know, I just got a very weird call from hotel security in Dubai. They said Lena Hart checked out 20 minutes ago. She what? Checked out, left the building, alone. Michelle paused. What the hell is going on? Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose. I don't know yet. Ethan, I'll call you back. He hung up before she could argue, then dialed the front desk. The clerk confirmed it. Lena had left in a taxi, no luggage, no explanation. Gone. Ethan sat down on the edge of the bed and stared at his phone. He could call the police. He could call the American embassy. He could wake up Sophie and get on the next flight home. Or he could figure out what the hell was happening. He opened his laptop and started digging. Sentinel Solutions. Lena had mentioned them once, the private contractor connected to her framing. Ethan pulled up everything he could find. Defense contracts, corporate security, high-level political consulting, the kind of company that didn't advertise and didn't need to. And buried in a 3-year-old procurement report, he found something that made his stomach drop. The Bristol Grand Hotel Group had used Sentinel Solutions for security consulting in 2018. His father's company, his company now. Ethan scrolled through the report. Sentinel had been hired to assess vulnerabilities in overseas properties, including a proposed expansion into Dubai. He sat back, heart pounding. His father had worked with Sentinel. Lena had been framed by someone connected to Sentinel. And now Ethan was in Dubai, trying to close a deal his father had started, with Lena at his side. This wasn't a coincidence. His phone rang. Unknown number. Ethan answered. Who is this? Mr. Calder. The voice was calm, professional, American. I think we need to talk. Where's Lena? Safe. For now. If you hurt her, we're not going to hurt her as long as you listen. The man paused. You've put yourself in a complicated position, Mr. Calder. Hiring Miss Hart was unwise. Why? Because she's asking questions she shouldn't ask. And now you're asking them too. Ethan stood and moved to the window, scanning the street below. What do you want? For you to go home. Finish your business in Dubai, then distance yourself from Ms. Hart. Permanently. And if I don't? Then we'll handle it. And you won't like how. The line went dead. Ethan stood there, gripping the phone, rage flooding through him. These people, whoever they were, thought they could threaten him. Thought they could make him abandon Lena. They were wrong. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the door, then stopped. Sophie. He couldn't leave her alone. He called Michelle back. I need you to get on a plane. What? Dubai. Tonight. I need someone I trust to stay with Sophie. Ethan, what is going on? I'll explain when you get here. Just please. I need you. Michelle was quiet for a moment. Then she sighed. I'll be there in 12 hours. Thank you. He hung up and looked at Sophie one more time. Then he left the suite and went hunting. The hotel's head of security was a former British military officer named Graves. Solid, no nonsense, and loyal to Ethan's family for 15 years. Ethan found him in the security office, reviewing camera feeds. Mr. Calder. Graves stood. Bit late for a visit. I need your help. With what? Finding someone. Ethan pulled up Lena's photo on his phone. Lena Hart. She left the hotel half an hour ago. I need to know where she went. Graves frowned. Is she in trouble? Yes. What kind? The kind that involves people who don't want to be found. Ethan met his eyes. Can you help me or not? Graves studied him, then nodded. Let me check the footage. They reviewed the security cameras together. Lena appeared in the lobby at 11:43, moving fast, head down. She got into a taxi outside the main entrance. Graves zoomed in on the license plate and made a call. 5 minutes later, he had an address. Industrial District, Graves said. Near the old port. Not exactly a tourist spot. Can you get me there? I can, but Mr. Calder... I'm going, Ethan said. With or without you? Graves sighed. Give me 5 minutes. They took an unmarked car and drove through the city in tense silence. Dubai at night was all neon and glass, but as they moved away from the downtown core, the landscape shifted. Warehouses, shipping containers, streets that didn't belong in travel brochures. Graves pulled over 2 blocks from the address. We walk from here. Why? Because if this is what I think it is, we don't want to announce ourselves. They moved through the shadows, Graves leading. The building was 3 stories, concrete and steel, windows dark. No signs, no markings. You sure about this? Graves asked. No. Good. Keeps you sharp. They circled the building. Graves found a service door unlocked and gestured Ethan inside. The interior was colder than the night outside. Empty hallways, flickering lights, the smell of dust and oil. Ethan followed Graves up a stairwell to the second floor, where voices echoed from somewhere ahead. One of them was Lena's. Ethan moved faster. Graves grabbed his arm. Slow. We don't know what we're walking into. I don't care. You should. But Ethan pulled free and kept going. The voices grew louder. He reached a door slightly ajar and looked through. Lena stood in the center of a small room, facing 2 men. One was tall, mid-40s, clean-cut in a suit that screamed private sector. The other was younger, bulkier, standing near the door like hired muscle. The man in the suit was talking. Don't have a choice, Ms. Hart. You either cooperate or things get very difficult. I've been cooperating for 3 years, Lena said. Her voice was steady, but Ethan could hear the fear beneath it. I stayed quiet. I disappeared. What else do you want? We want you to stay disappeared. The man stepped closer. But you just had to take a job with Ethan Calder. You just had to get visible again. I'm a consultant. You're a liability. The man's tone didn't change. And now Calder's digging into things he shouldn't. Dubai, his father's deals, Sentinel's contracts. I didn't tell him anything. Doesn't matter. He's smart enough to figure it out on his own. The man paused. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to disappear again, quietly. And Calder's going to get a very clear message that asking questions is dangerous. You're going to threaten him? If we have to. Lena's hands curled into fists. He has a daughter. We know. That's why he'll listen. Ethan didn't wait. He shoved the door open and stepped inside. You're right about one thing. I'm smart enough to figure things out. Everyone turned. Lena's eyes went wide. Ethan, Mr. Calder. The man in the suit didn't look surprised. I thought we told you to go home. You did. I didn't listen. Ethan moved into the room, Graves appearing behind him. Now let her go. The younger man near the door shifted, reaching for something under his jacket. Graves cleared his throat. I wouldn't. The man froze. The suit smiled faintly. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Good, Ethan said. I like hard. Do you? The man gestured to Lena. Ms. Hart knows what happens to people who make things hard. She's seen it firsthand. Lena's face went pale. Ethan looked at her. What's he talking about? Ethan, don't... Tell him, the man said. Tell him what happened to your partner in Jordan. Lena closed her eyes. There was another interpreter, the man continued. Daniel Cross. He was the one who actually found the evidence that someone was leaking. He brought it to Ms. Hart, and together they tried to report it. He paused. 3 days later, Daniel was killed in a car accident. Very tragic. Very convenient. Ethan's blood went cold. You killed him. We didn't kill anyone. Accidents happen. The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. But Ms. Hart got the message. Didn't you? Lena opened her eyes, and Ethan saw the truth there. Grief, guilt, rage. That's why you disappeared, Ethan said quietly. Yes. And now they think I'm going to get you killed too. Something like that. The man in the suit sighed. This is all very touching, but we're done here. Miss Hart, you're coming with us. Mr. Calder, you're going back to your hotel, and we're all going to forget this conversation happened. No, Ethan said. Excuse me? You heard me. No. Ethan stepped between Lena and the suit. She's not going anywhere with you, and I'm not forgetting anything. Mr. Calder, you killed someone to cover up whatever you're hiding. You framed Lena to protect yourselves. And now you think you can threaten me into walking away? Ethan laughed, sharp. I'm a billionaire with lawyers on 3 continents and enough money to make your life a living hell. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to let us leave. And if you ever come near Lena or my family again, I will burn Sentinel Solutions to the ground, legally, publicly, and permanently. The room was silent. Then the man smiled. You think money scares us? I think exposure does. I think congressional hearings do. I think your clients finding out you've been covering up murders and framing government employees does. Ethan pulled out his phone. And I think this recording I've been making for the last 3 minutes does. The man's smile vanished. Graves moved. The younger guy near the door reached for his weapon, but Graves was faster. One quick motion, and the guy was on the ground groaning. The man in the suit raised his hands. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. Ethan gestured to Lena. Let's go. She didn't move. Ethan, if we leave, we leave. Now. Lena looked at the man in the suit, then at Ethan. Then she nodded and walked to his side. They left together, Graves covering their exit. The man in the suit called after them. This isn't over. Yeah, Ethan said without looking back. It is. They made it to the car. Graves drove fast, checking mirrors, taking turns that didn't make sense until they were sure no one was following. Lena sat in the back seat, staring at her hands. Ethan turned around. You okay? No. Fair. She looked up. You shouldn't have done that. Probably not. They're going to come after you now. Let them try. Lena shook her head. You don't understand. These people, they don't stop. They don't negotiate. And now you've made yourself a target. Then I'll deal with it. How? Ethan met her eyes. By finishing what you started, finding out who leaked those documents, proving you were framed, and making sure everyone knows what Sentinel did. That's insane. Yeah, but it's the right thing to do. Graves glanced at him in the rear-view mirror. For what it's worth, I agree with her. This is insane. Noted. They drove back to the hotel in silence. When they arrived, Ethan walked Lena to her room. Michelle had reinstated her key remotely. Get some sleep, Ethan said. We'll figure out the next steps tomorrow. Ethan, I mean it. We're not done. Not even close. Lena stared at him. Why are you doing this? Because someone has to. That's not a reason? It's the only one I've got. She was quiet for a moment. Then she stepped forward and hugged him. Quick, fierce, unexpected. When she pulled back, her eyes were wet. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. She almost smiled. Fair. Ethan waited until she was inside, then went back to his own suite. Sophie was still asleep. Michelle had texted. Her flight landed in 4 hours. He sat down on the couch and stared at his phone, the recording still saved. He'd just threatened a private military contractor. He'd just made himself an enemy. And he had no idea what came next. But for the first time in years, Ethan felt like he was doing something that mattered, something real, even if it got him killed. The next morning, Michelle arrived looking exhausted and furious. Explain, she said the moment she walked into the suite. Ethan told her everything. The message, the meeting, Sentinel Solutions, the recording. When he finished, Michelle sat down and stared at him. You've lost your mind. Maybe. Definitely. She rubbed her face. Ethan, these people killed someone, and you just threatened to expose them. Do you have any idea what that means? Yes. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you just signed your own death warrant. They won't kill me. Too public. You don't know that. I know they need to keep this quiet. Murder a billionaire, and the whole world starts asking questions. Ethan leaned forward. But if we can prove what they did, prove they framed Lena, prove they covered up murders, then we take away their power. And how exactly do you plan to do that? I don't know yet. Michelle stood. This is insane. You have a daughter, Ethan. You have a company. You have responsibilities. I know. Then act like it. She left before he could respond. Ethan sat there, staring at the floor. Michelle was right. This was insane. But he couldn't walk away. Not now. Sophie woke up an hour later, groggy and confused. Where's Lena? She had to take care of something, Ethan said. But she'll be back. Is she okay? Yeah, kiddo. She's okay. Sophie studied him. You look tired. I am. Did you stay up late working? Something like that. She climbed onto the couch next to him. Dad? Yeah? Are we in trouble? Ethan's chest tightened. No. Why? You have your worried face. I didn't know I had a worried face. You do. It's the same face you had when Mom left. Ethan closed his eyes. Sophie was 6. She shouldn't have to notice things like that. We're not in trouble, he said quietly. I promise. Okay. She leaned against him. Can we go see the camels today? Yeah, we can do that. They spent the afternoon at a desert reserve outside the city. Camels, falcons, sand dunes that stretched forever. Sophie loved every second. Ethan watched her chase lizards and climb dunes and laugh in a way that made his chest ache. He pulled out his phone and took a photo of her silhouetted against the sunset. Then he texted it to Lena. She's the reason I'm doing this, just so you know. Lena responded 5 minutes later. I know. That night after Sophie was asleep, Ethan met Lena in the hotel bar. It was nearly empty, just a few business travelers nursing drinks and scrolling through phones. Lena looked better, rested, but the tension was still there, coiled tight beneath the surface. How's Sophie? She asked. Good. She asked about you. What'd you tell her? That you're okay. Lena nodded. I'm sorry for dragging you into this. You didn't drag me. I walked in on my own. Still, they were quiet for a moment. Then Ethan said, Tell me about Daniel. Lena looked down at her glass. We worked together for 2 years. He was smart, funny, the kind of person who made you want to be better. She paused. When we found the leak, he wanted to go public immediately. I told him to wait, to gather more evidence first. And 3 days later, he was dead. Her voice was flat. Single car accident. They said he fell asleep at the wheel, but Daniel didn't fall asleep. He was meticulous, always. You think they killed him? I know they did. Lena met his eyes. And I know they would have killed me too if I hadn't disappeared. Ethan leaned back. Who was the leak? I don't know. That's the problem. Daniel found evidence, emails, financial transfers, but he never told me who it pointed to. He said he wanted to be sure before we made accusations. She shook her head. And then he died, and the evidence disappeared, and I became the scapegoat. So Sentinel cleaned it up. Yes. Why? Because whoever was leaking had connections, power, enough to hire Sentinel to make the problem go away. Ethan thought about that. And now I've put a target on both of us. Yes. Good. Lena blinked. Good? If they're worried, it means we're close to something. Ethan pulled out his laptop. I've been digging into Sentinel's contracts. Your case happened in 2019. That same year, Sentinel did security consulting for my father's company, the Bristol Grande. Right. And according to the procurement reports, they were hired specifically for the Dubai expansion. He turned the screen toward her. The same expansion we're working on now. Lena stared at the screen. That's not a coincidence. No, it's not. So your father was involved somehow. Ethan's jaw tightened. He died 2 years ago. Heart attack. Sudden. No warning. Ethan, I know what you're thinking, and yeah, I'm thinking it too. Lena sat back. We need proof. We need a lot of things. Ethan closed the laptop. But first, we need to get out of Dubai. Agreed. They flew back to Boston the next day. The Al Mansouri deal was on hold. Ethan had sent a polite email citing family emergencies, but he knew it was only a matter of time before word got out, before Sentinel made their next move. Michelle met them at the airport, still furious but professional. Your mother wants to see you. Of course she does. She knows about Lena, about Dubai, about all of it. Ethan swore under his breath. How? Does it matter? She knows. They drove to the family estate in silence. It was a sprawling property north of the city. Old money, old trees, the kind of place that made you feel small just walking through the door. Ethan's mother, Catherine Calder, was waiting in the study. She was 63, perfectly composed, and terrifying in the way only mothers could be. Ethan, she didn't stand. Sit. He sat. Lena stayed near the door. Catherine looked at her. You must be Ms. Hart. Yes, ma'am. The woman who's been causing so much trouble. Mom, I wasn't talking to you. Catherine's gaze didn't leave Lena. I've read your file. State Department. Fired under suspicion of espionage. Now working for my son. She paused. Tell me, Ms. Hart, are you using him? No. Are you lying to him? No. Then what are you doing? Lena met her eyes. My job. Catherine smiled, cold, sharp. Your job is to ruin my family's reputation. My job, Lena said carefully, is to help Ethan navigate international business. What happened in Jordan has nothing to do with it, has everything to do with it. Catherine stood. You've made him a target. You've put my granddaughter at risk. And now you have the audacity to stand in my house and pretend you're not dangerous. Mrs. Calder, get out. Mom, not you, her. Catherine pointed to the door. Miss Hart, you're fired, effective immediately. Ethan will pay whatever severance is appropriate, but you are no longer employed by this family. Lena didn't move. You can't fire me. I work for Ethan, not you. And Ethan works for me. Actually, Ethan said, standing, I don't. Catherine turned. Excuse me? I run the company. You're a board member, a shareholder, but you don't run me. He moved to stand next to Lena. And Lena stays. Ethan, she stays, or I walk. The room went silent. Catherine stared at him. You'd leave the company? If it means keeping people who threaten my family at bay? Yes. She's the one threatening your family. No, she's not. Ethan's voice was steady. The people threatening us are the ones who framed her, the ones who killed her partner, the ones Dad was working with before he died. Catherine's face went pale. What are you talking about? Sentinel Solutions. Dad hired them for the Dubai expansion, and I think he found out they were dirty. I think he tried to get out, and I think they killed him. That's insane. Is it? Ethan pulled out his laptop and opened the files. Look at the timeline. Sentinel gets hired. 6 months later, Daniel Cross dies. Lena gets framed. Another 6 months, Dad has a sudden heart attack. No autopsy. No investigation. Catherine sat down slowly. You think someone murdered your father? I think it's possible. Based on what? Coincidences? Based on the fact that every time someone gets close to whatever Sentinel is hiding, they end up dead or destroyed. Ethan closed the laptop. And I'm not letting that happen to Lena, or to me, or to Sophie. Catherine was quiet for a long time. Then she looked at Lena. If you're lying, I'm not. If you're using my son, I'm not. Catherine's jaw tightened. Then prove it. Find out what really happened. And if you're right, if Sentinel killed my husband, I want them destroyed. Ethan blinked. You believe me? I believe you're reckless and stubborn and too much like your father for your own good. Catherine stood. But yes, I believe you. She left without another word. Lena exhaled. That went better than I expected. Yeah, Ethan said. Me too. They had 3 days before Lena disappeared. Ethan didn't know that yet. He spent those 3 days trying to build a case. Digging through his father's old files, calling lawyers, setting up meetings with forensic accountants who could trace Sentinel's money. Lena worked beside him, pulling records from her own destroyed career, reaching out to former State Department colleagues who'd gone silent years ago. Most didn't answer. The ones who did hung up the moment she mentioned Sentinel. On the second day, Ethan hired private security. 2 ex-Secret Service agents who followed Sophie to school and back, who checked the house every night, who made Ethan feel both safer and more paranoid. On the third day, Victoria showed up at his office unannounced. You need to stop, she said, closing the door behind her. Ethan didn't look up from his laptop. Hello to you too. I'm serious. Whatever you're doing with Lena Hart, whatever conspiracy theory you've convinced yourself is real, you need to stop before you destroy everything. I'm not destroying anything. The board is panicking. Your investors are asking questions, and my mother is on board. Victoria blinked. What? She believes me. About Sentinel. About Dad. Ethan finally looked up. So, unless you're here to help, I don't have time for this. Help with what? Chasing ghosts? Chasing the truth. Victoria crossed her arms. The truth is that you're obsessed with a woman who's using you. She's not using me. Then what is she doing? Her job. Her job is to what? Get you killed? Victoria's voice rose. Ethan, these people, Sentinel, they're not playing games. If even half of what you think is true, you're putting yourself and Sophie in danger. I know. Then why are you doing this? Ethan stood. Because someone has to. Because my father might have been murdered, and no one did anything about it. Because Lena's partner was killed and she's been living in hiding for 3 years. Because if I don't do something, they win. Victoria stared at him. You're going to get yourself killed. Maybe. But at least I'll die doing something that matters. She shook her head slowly. I don't recognize you anymore. Good. I'm tired of being the person everyone recognizes. Victoria left without another word. Ethan sat back down and tried to focus on the files in front of him, but his hands were shaking. She was right. He was risking everything, but he couldn't stop. That night, Lena didn't come home. Ethan had set her up in a secure apartment 2 blocks from his house. Michelle's idea, something about maintaining professional boundaries. But when Lena didn't answer her phone at 8, then 9, then 10, Ethan started to worry. He called the security team. They checked the apartment. Empty. No sign of forced entry. No note. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Ethan stood in his kitchen, staring at his phone, and felt the floor drop out from under him. She was gone. He called Michelle. Get everyone? Now. What happened? Lena's missing. Michelle swore. I'm on my way. Ethan called the security team back. I need cameras, traffic footage, anything from the last 6 hours. Mr. Calder, if she left voluntarily, she didn't. How do you know? Because I know. Ethan grabbed his keys. Find her. He drove to Lena's apartment himself. The security team was already there, combing through rooms, checking windows. Nothing looked disturbed. Her laptop was gone. Her phone was gone. But her coffee mug was still on the counter, half full. She'd left in a hurry, or been taken. Ethan pulled out his phone and opened the tracking app Michelle had insisted they all install after Dubai. Lena's location showed as offline. He tried calling again, voicemail. Mr. Calder. One of the security agents appeared in the doorway. We've found something. Ethan followed him to the bedroom. On the nightstand, partially hidden under a book, was a burner phone. It's not hers, the agent said. And it's been used recently. Ethan picked it up. 1 number in the call log. Outgoing, 2 hours ago. He dialed it. The line rang 3 times. Then a voice he recognized answered. Mr. Calder, I was wondering when you'd call. It was the man from Dubai. The suit. Ethan's blood went cold. Where is she? Somewhere safe, for now. If you hurt her, we're not going to hurt her. We're going to have a conversation, and then we're all going to walk away from this. Like hell we are. Mr. Calder, you're out of your depth. You've been poking around in things you don't understand, making accusations you can't prove. It's time to stop. Where is she? That depends on you. The man's tone didn't change. You have something we want. The recording from Dubai. The files you've been collecting. Hand them over and Ms. Hart goes free. And if I don't? Then she doesn't. Ethan closed his eyes. I want proof she's alive. A pause. Then Lena's voice, tight with fear. Ethan, don't! The line cut off. Ethan stood there, gripping the phone so hard his knuckles went white. Mr. Calder, the security agent was watching him. What do you want us to do? Find her, Ethan said. I don't care what it takes. Find her. Michelle arrived 20 minutes later with 2 lawyers and a former FBI agent named Carver, who specialized in kidnapping cases. They set up in Ethan's living room, laptops and phones spread across the coffee table. Talk to me, Carver said. What do we know? Ethan told him everything. Dubai, Sentinel, the recording, the threats. Carver listened without interrupting. When Ethan finished, he leaned back and sighed. This is bad. I know. No, I mean really bad. If Sentinel has her, they're not messing around. These people have resources, government connections. They can make someone disappear permanently. So what do? You give them what they want. Absolutely not. Ethan, I'm not handing over the only leverage we have. Your leverage is worthless if she's dead. Ethan stood and paced. There has to be another way. There isn't. Carver's voice was firm. You're not a trained negotiator. You're not law enforcement. And you're dealing with people who've killed before. Your best option is to make the trade, get her back, and then rebuild your case. And if they kill her anyway? They won't. Not if they get what they want. You don't know that. No, Carver admitted. But it's the best chance she has. Ethan looked at Michelle. She nodded slowly. He wanted to scream. He wanted to put his fist through a wall, but instead he picked up the burner phone and dialed. The suit answered immediately. Mr. Calder, have you made a decision? I'll give you the files, but I want guarantees. You're not in a position to negotiate. I am, if you want these files. Otherwise, I upload everything to the press and you get nothing. Silence. Then, what do you want? Lena, alive, unharmed, and proof that she's safe before I hand anything over. Fine. Tomorrow night. I'll send you a location. Tonight. Tomorrow. And come alone, or the deal's off. The line went dead. Ethan lowered the phone and looked at Carver. Now what? Now we prepare. And we hope like hell they keep their word. The next 24 hours were the longest of Ethan's life. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Sophie asked him 3 times if he was okay, and he lied every time. Michelle organized everything, copied the files onto a secure drive, briefed the lawyers, coordinated with Carver on backup plans. The security team wanted to follow him to the exchange. Ethan refused. If they see anyone else, they'll kill her. And if you go alone, they'll kill you both. I'll take that risk. Carver pulled him aside. You're not trained for this. I don't care. You should. These people are professionals. So am I. At running hotels, not hostage negotiations. Ethan met his eyes. Then I guess I'll learn fast. At 7 that evening, the burner phone buzzed. A text with an address. An abandoned industrial park outside the city, 20 minutes away. Ethan grabbed his keys. Michelle caught his arm. Don't do this. I have to. Ethan, she's there because of me. I'm not leaving her. Michelle's eyes were wet. If something happens to you, what do I tell Sophie? Ethan's chest tightened. Tell her I loved her and that I tried to do the right thing. He left before Michelle could argue. The drive felt surreal. Empty highways, streetlights blurring past, the weight of the hard drive in his jacket pocket. Ethan kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting to see Sentinel following him. But the road stayed empty. The industrial park was dark when he arrived. Chain-link fences, rusted machinery, buildings that looked like they'd been abandoned for years. Ethan parked near the entrance and got out. The air was cold, silent except for the wind. He walked toward the largest building, hands in his pockets, trying to look calm even though his heart was hammering. A door opened. The suit stepped out, flanked by 2 men. No sign of Lena. Mr. Calder, you're punctual. Where is she? Inside. Safe. The suit gestured. The files? Ethan pulled out the hard drive. Proof first. The suit nodded to one of his men, who disappeared inside. A moment later, Lena was brought out. She looked pale, exhausted, but alive. Her eyes met Ethan's. You shouldn't have come. Yeah, well, too late now. He held up the drive. Let her go. Give us the drive first. Not until she's clear. The suit smiled faintly. You don't trust us? Not even a little. Smart. The suit nodded. Fine. Send her over. Lena started walking toward Ethan. He started walking toward the suit, drive extended. They met in the middle. Ethan handed over the drive. The suit took it. And then everything went wrong. One of the men grabbed Lena and yanked her back. The other pulled a gun. Ethan froze. We had a deal. We did, the suit said. But deals change. What are you doing? Making sure this ends. The suit examined the drive. See, the problem with you, Mr. Calder, is that you don't know when to quit. Even if we let Miss Hart go, you'd keep digging, keep asking questions, and eventually you'd find something we can't allow you to find. Ethan's pulse roared in his ears. So what? You're going to kill us? No, you're going to disappear, both of you. Tragic accident, private plane crash maybe, or a house fire. We'll figure it out. Lena struggled against the man holding her. Ethan, it's okay, Ethan said, even though it wasn't. The suit pocketed the drive. Take them inside. The man with the gun gestured for Ethan to move. He didn't. I said move. No. The gun pressed against his chest. Mr. Calder, you're going to have to shoot me right here, because I'm not making this easy. The suit sighed. Don't be stupid. Too late. And then headlights flooded the parking lot. 3 cars screeched to a stop, doors flying open. Armed men poured out. Not Sentinel, not security. Someone else. Ethan's heart sank. More of them. But then he saw the lid figure, and his breath caught. It was his mother. Catherine Calder stepped out of the center car, flanked by a team of private contractors who looked like they ate people like Sentinel for breakfast. Let go of my son, she said, her voice cold enough to freeze blood. The suit stared. Mrs. Calder, this doesn't concern you. It does when you threaten my family. Catherine walked forward, fearless. Now let them go, or I will make your life very, very difficult. You can't I? Catherine smiled. I've spent the last 30 years building connections in every corridor of power in this country. I know senators, judges, directors of federal agencies, and I have enough money to bury you in legal hell for the rest of your miserable life. The suit's jaw tightened. You're bluffing. Try me. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the suit nodded. The man holding Lena let go. The one with the gun lowered it. This isn't over, the suit said. Yes, Catherine said. It is. The Sentinel team retreated to their own vehicles and drove away, leaving Ethan and Lena standing in the middle of the parking lot, alive and stunned. Catherine walked over. Are you hurt? No. Ethan's voice was hoarse. How did you... Michelle called me. Told me you were doing something stupid. Catherine looked at Lena. Are you all right, Ms. Hart? Yes, thank you. Catherine nodded. Good. Now both of you get in the car. We have work to do. They drove back in silence. Ethan sat in the back with Lena, his hand gripping hers like a lifeline. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For what? For not being able to protect you. Lena squeezed his hand. You came for me. That's more than most people would do. Yeah, well, I'm stubborn. She smiled faintly. I noticed. When they reached Ethan's house, Catherine gathered everyone. Michelle, Carver, the lawyers, the security team. She stood at the head of the table like a general preparing for war. Here's what's going to happen, she said. We're going public. Everything. Sentinel, the cover-up, Daniel Cross, all of it. They'll deny everything, one of the lawyers said. Let them. We have the recording. We have financial records. We have testimony. Catherine looked at Lena. And we have a witness who's willing to go on record. Lena hesitated. If I testify, you'll have protection, full security, legal support, everything you need. They'll come after me. They'll try, Catherine said, but they'll have to go through me first. Ethan stared at his mother. Why are you doing this? Because you were right. About Sentinel. About your father. Her voice cracked slightly. And because I've spent 2 years pretending his death was natural when I knew, deep down, that something was wrong. I just didn't want to believe it. Mom, but I believe it now. Catherine straightened. And I want them destroyed. Lena spoke up. If we do this, we need proof. Real proof. Not just suspicions. Then we find it, Ethan said. How? By going back to where it started. He pulled out his laptop and opened his father's old files. Dad was working on the Dubai expansion when he died. Sentinel was involved. If there's evidence of what they did, it'll be in these records. They worked through the night, piecing together financial transactions, email chains, procurement contracts. And slowly, a picture began to form. Ethan's father had discovered that Sentinel was using the Bristol Grande's Middle East operations to launder money,
payments routed through shell companies, disguised as consulting fees. When he'd threatened to report it, Sentinel had warned him to back off. He hadn't. 3 weeks later, he was dead. Here, Lena pointed to an email dated 2 days before his death. He was planning to meet with the FBI. He had evidence. Where is it? Ethan asked. I don't know. It's not in the files.
Carver leaned over. If he was smart, he would have hidden it, somewhere safe, somewhere Sentinel couldn't access. Ethan thought about that. His father had been paranoid in his final weeks. Ethan remembered him locking his office, making cryptic phone calls, refusing to explain why. And then Ethan remembered something else. The lake house, he said. Everyone looked at him. Dad had a lake house in New Hampshire. He went there the weekend before he died. Alone. Ethan stood. If he hid something, that's where it would be. Catherine nodded. Then we go. Now? Now. They left at dawn. Ethan, Lena, Catherine, and 2 security agents. The drive took 3 hours, winding through forests and mountains until they reached a small cabin overlooking a frozen lake. It looked exactly like Ethan remembered. Quiet, isolated, perfect for hiding secrets. They searched for 2 hours. Ethan tore through closets, checked floorboards, pulled books off shelves. Nothing. Lena found it. She was in the study, examining the fireplace, when she noticed the bricks didn't quite line up. She pressed one, and a section of the wall clicked open. Inside was a safe. Ethan tried his father's birthday, his mother's, Sophie's. Nothing worked. Then Lena said, "Try the date Daniel Cross died." Ethan looked at her. "How do you know? Just try it." He did. The safe opened. Inside were 3 things: a flash drive, a handwritten letter, and a photograph. Ethan pulled out the letter, his father's handwriting. "If you're reading this, I'm already gone. I tried to do the right thing, and it cost me. But I'm not letting them win. Everything you need is on the drive: bank records, emails, proof that Sentinel Solutions has been using our company to launder money for years. I was going to take it to the FBI, but I ran out of time. Don't make the same mistake. Finish this. For me. For your family. For everyone they've destroyed. I love you, son. Be brave." Ethan's hand shook as he read it. Lena put a hand on his shoulder. Catherine took the flash drive. "We have him." "We have them," Ethan corrected. They drove straight to the FBI's Boston field office. Catherine called ahead, using connections Ethan didn't know she had, and by the time they arrived, 3 agents were waiting. Ethan handed over the flash drive, the letter, the photograph. A picture of his father with a Sentinel executive taken weeks before his death. The lead agent, a woman named Torres, reviewed everything in silence. Then she looked up. "This is substantial. If it checks out, we'll open an investigation immediately." "How long will that take?" Ethan asked. "Weeks, maybe months." "We don't have months." "Mr. Calder, Sentinel knows we're coming for them. They'll destroy evidence, disappear witnesses. If we don't move now, we'll move as fast as we can," Torres said firmly. "But we have to do this right. Otherwise, it falls apart in court." Ethan wanted to argue, but Lena squeezed his hand and he forced himself to nod. "Fine, but we're going public anyway." Torres frowned. "That could compromise the investigation." "I don't care. People need to know what these people did." Torres studied him. Then she nodded. "Your call." They held a press conference 2 days later. Ethan stood at a podium in front of 30 reporters, Lena beside him, Catherine in the background. He told them everything. Sentinel, the cover-up, his father's murder, Lena's destroyed career. The room erupted with questions. "Do you have proof?" "The FBI does, and so do we." "Why come forward now?" "Because staying silent means they win." "Aren't you afraid of retaliation?" Ethan looked at Lena, then at his mother, then back at the cameras. "Terrified, but I'm doing it anyway." The story broke that night. By morning, it was everywhere. Cable news, social media, international outlets. Sentinel's stock plummeted. Executives resigned. Clients started canceling contracts. And 3 days later, the FBI raided Sentinel's headquarters. Ethan watched it on TV, holding Sophie's hand. "Is it over?" she asked. "Not yet, kiddo, but we're close. She looked up at him. Did we win? Ethan smiled. Yeah, I think we did. But Sophie was wrong. They hadn't won yet. The FBI raid was just the beginning. Within hours of the agent storming Sentinel's headquarters, Ethan's phone started ringing. Investors demanding explanations, board members threatening lawsuits, competitors circling like sharks who'd smelled blood in the water. And then there was the emergency board meeting. Catherine called it for the following Monday. Mandatory attendance, no exceptions. They're going to try to remove you, Michelle said, pacing Ethan's office. I've been hearing rumors all weekend. Marcus Donovan is leading the charge. Marcus Donovan, 65 years old, on the board for 20 years, and one of his father's oldest friends. Or so Ethan had thought. On what grounds? Ethan asked. Reckless endangerment of company assets, unauthorized use of corporate resources, bringing negative publicity that's cost the company millions in stock value. Michelle stopped pacing. And they're going to bring up Lena. Of course they are. Ethan, if they vote you out, they won't. You don't know that. Then I'll fight. Ethan looked at her. I'm not walking away. Not now. Michelle sat down across from him. You know what the worst part is? Half these people don't even care about Sentinel or what they did. They just want you gone so they can go back to business as usual. Yeah, I know. So what's the plan? Ethan pulled out a folder. This. Michelle opened it. Inside were financial statements, transaction records, and email chains, all documenting how various board members had benefited from Sentinel's contracts over the years. Consulting fees, stock options, quiet payments disguised as bonuses. Michelle looked up. Where did you get this? Lena found it, buried in Dad's files. Ethan leaned back. Turns out Sentinel didn't just use our company to launder money. They paid off board members to keep quiet about it. Including Marcus? Especially Marcus. Michelle whistled softly. You're going to blow up the entire board. Only the corrupt ones. That's still half the board. Good. We need new blood anyway. She closed the folder and handed it back. This is going to get ugly. It already is ugly. I'm just making sure everyone sees it. The board meeting was scheduled for 10 in the morning. Ethan arrived at 9:30 with Lena, Catherine, and 2 lawyers. The conference room was already full, 12 board members plus their own attorneys, all looking at Ethan like he'd personally set their money on fire. Marcus Donovan sat at the head of the table. He didn't stand when Ethan entered. Mr. Calder, thank you for joining us. Didn't realize I had a choice. You don't. Marcus gestured to an empty chair. Sit. Ethan stayed standing. I'd rather not. This isn't a negotiation. Neither is what I'm about to say. Ethan set his folder on the table. But let's hear your complaints first. Marcus's jaw tightened. Fine. Over the past 6 weeks, you've engaged in reckless behavior that has damaged this company's reputation, depleted our stock value by 18%, and exposed us to potential legal liability. You hired an unvetted consultant with a compromised background. You made accusations against a respected defense contractor without authorization from this board, and you've dragged our family name through the mud on national television. Anything else? Ethan asked. Isn't that enough? Depends on your perspective. One of the other board members, a woman named Patricia Chen, spoke up. Ethan, we understand you were trying to do the right thing, but you went about it the wrong way. You should have come to us first. I did, Ethan said. 3 months ago, I brought concerns about Sentinel's contracts to this board. You dismissed them. Because you didn't have evidence? I had questions. You didn't want to hear them. Ethan looked around the table. And now I know why. Marcus stood. What's that supposed to mean? It means that half of you were on Sentinel's payroll. Ethan opened his folder and pulled out documents. Consulting fees, stock transfers, payments disguised as performance bonuses. All of it illegal, all of it documented. The room went silent. Ethan slid copies across the table. Sentinel didn't just use our company to launder money. They bought your loyalty, and when my father found out, you did nothing. Patricia picked up her copy, scanned it, and went pale. This can't be. It's real. FBI already has copies. Ethan turned to Marcus. You want to remove me? Fine. But you're going down with me. Marcus's face was red. You have no proof. I have your bank records, your emails, your signature on contracts that should never have been approved. Ethan leaned forward. My father trusted you, and you sold him out. I did no such thing. You did. And when he threatened to expose it, Sentinel killed him, and you stayed quiet. That's a lie. Is it? Ethan pulled out another document, the letter his father had written before he died. Read it, out loud, so everyone can hear what kind of man you really are. Marcus stared at the letter. Then he sat down slowly, his face ashen. Catherine stood. I move that we remove Marcus Donovan from this board immediately, along with anyone else implicated in these documents. Seconded, said one of the younger board members, a man named James Liu, who'd always been skeptical of Marcus. This is a witch hunt, another member protested. No, Catherine said coldly. This is accountability. The vote took 10 minutes. When it was done, Marcus and 3 others were removed. The rest sat in stunned silence. Ethan looked around the table. Anyone else want to question my judgment? No one spoke. Good. Meeting adjourned. He walked out, Lena and Catherine following. Behind them, the room erupted into shouting. In the hallway, Michelle was waiting. How'd it go? 4 board members removed. The rest are too scared to move against me. Ethan loosened his tie. I'd call that a win. Barely. I'll take it. Lena touched his arm. You okay? No, but I will be. That night, Victoria called. Ethan almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of him. What do you want? To apologize. Her voice was quiet. I saw the news. About the board meeting. About Marcus. And you were right. About everything. Sentinel, your father, all of it. She paused. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. Ethan sat down. Why are you calling me, Victoria? Because I know what it's like to be alone in this. And I don't want you to feel like you are. I'm not alone. I know you have Lena. There was something in her voice. Sadness, maybe. Or regret. She's good for you. Yeah, she is. For what it's worth, I hope this works out. The company, the case, everything. Thanks. She hung up before he could say anything else. Ethan stared at his phone for a long moment. Then Sophie appeared in the doorway, clutching her giraffe. Dad? Hey, kiddo, can't sleep? I had a bad dream. Ethan pulled her onto his lap. Want to talk about it? There were bad people chasing us, and you couldn't stop them. His chest tightened. It was just a dream, Soph. But what if it's real? What if the bad people come back? Ethan kissed the top of her head. Then I'll stop them, I promise. How? By being smarter than them, and by having people who help me. He pulled back to look at her. You know Lena? Yeah. She's one of those people. She's really brave, and she's helping me make sure the bad people can't hurt anyone anymore. Sophie considered that. Is she your girlfriend? Ethan blinked. What? No, she works for me. Emma says when grown-ups spend lots of time together, they're dating. Emma's 6. What does she know? Sophie giggled. She knows a lot. Well, Lena and I are just friends. Okay. Sophie snuggled against him. But I like her. She's nice. Yeah, she is. He carried Sophie back to bed and stayed until she fell asleep. Then he went to his own room and lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Was Lena more than a friend? He didn't know. He hadn't let himself think about it. There'd been too much else happening, too many fires to put out. But lying there in the dark, he couldn't stop thinking about the way she'd looked at him in Dubai, the way she'd held his hand in the car after the exchange, the way she made him feel less alone. He grabbed his phone and texted her. You awake? The response came 30 seconds later. Unfortunately. You? Can't sleep. Want company? Ethan hesitated, then typed. Yeah. 20 minutes later, Lena was at his door. She looked tired, wearing sweatpants and an oversized sweater, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Hey, she said. Hey. They sat on his couch with mugs of tea neither of them drank. For a while they didn't talk, just sat in the quiet, the weight of the last few weeks pressing down on both of them. Finally, Lena said, I testified today. Ethan looked at her. What? To the FBI, about Jordan, about Daniel, about everything. She stared into her mug. It was harder than I thought it would be. I should have been there. You had the board meeting, and besides, this was something I needed to do alone. She looked up. Torres said they're building a strong case. Between your father's evidence and my testimony, they think they can take down most of Sentinel's leadership. That's good.
Yeah, it is, she paused. But it doesn't bring Daniel back, or your father. No, it doesn't. They were quiet again. Then Lena said, Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you do this? Really? Not the noble answer you gave the press, the real reason.
Ethan thought about that. Because I was tired of feeling powerless. My whole life, I've been trying to live up to my father's legacy, be the son he wanted, run the company the way he would have, and it never felt like enough. He looked at her. But when I met you, when I heard you speak Arabic in that hallway, I realized I'd been trying to be someone I wasn't, and maybe that was the problem. So you decided to burn it all down? I decided to start over, build something real instead of something inherited. He smiled faintly. You helped me see that. I didn't do anything. You did. You were brave enough to keep fighting even when everyone told you to quit, even when it would have been easier to disappear. He reached over and took her hand. You reminded me what courage looks like. Lena's eyes were wet. I don't feel brave. You are. I spent 3 years hiding. And now you're testifying. That's the definition of brave. She squeezed his hand. Thank you. For believing me, for fighting for me, for... Her voice broke. For giving me my life back. Ethan pulled her into a hug. She held on tight, and he felt her shoulders shake. It's okay, he murmured. You're okay. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. How to be a person again, after everything. You just do, one day at a time. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. You make it sound easy. It's not, but you're not alone. Lena looked at him for a long moment. Then she leaned forward and kissed him. It was brief, soft, tentative, like she was testing whether this was real. When she pulled back, her face was flushed. Sorry, I shouldn't have... Don't apologize. She stood. This is a bad idea. You're my boss. We're in the middle of a federal investigation, and... Lena. She stopped. It's not a bad idea, Ethan said quietly. It's just complicated. Everything about us is complicated. Yeah, but that doesn't make it wrong. She stared at him. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know what this is, but I know I care about you, and I know I don't want to lose you. You won't. Then stop running. Lena laughed, soft, a little broken. I'm not running. I'm terrified. So am I. Yeah? Yeah. She sat back down. So what do we do? I don't know. Figure it out as we go? Lena smiled. That's a terrible plan. You have a better one? No. Then I guess we're doing this. She kissed him again. This time he kissed back. The next 3 weeks were chaos. The FBI investigation expanded. More Sentinel executives were arrested. More documents came to light. The press coverage was relentless. Every cable news show, every business outlet, every tabloid wanted a piece of the story. Ethan gave interviews. Lena testified again. Catherine worked behind the scenes, leveraging every connection she had to make sure the case stayed in the public eye. And slowly, things started to shift. Sentinel's CEO resigned. The company's board dissolved. Clients abandoned them in droves. And when the indictments finally came down, 11 executives were charged with everything from money laundering to conspiracy to commit murder. Ethan watched the news conference with Lena and Sophie. The three of them crowded onto the couch. Does this mean the bad people are gone? Sophie asked. Most of them, Ethan said. The rest will be soon. Good. She snuggled against him. Can we get ice cream to celebrate? Lena laughed. I think that's a great idea. They went to Sophie's favorite place, a little shop near the Common with ridiculous flavors and toppings that defied physics. Sophie ordered something called Unicorn Explosion with gummy bears and sprinkles. Lena got mint chip. Ethan stuck with vanilla. Boring, Sophie announced. Classic, Ethan corrected. Same thing. They sat outside despite the cold, watching people pass by, and for the first time in months, Ethan felt something close to peace. What happens now? Lena asked quietly.
We rebuild, Ethan said. The company, our lives, everything. That simple? No, but we start anyway. She smiled. You're an optimist. I'm a realist who's had a really good day. Sophie looked up. Lena? Yeah? Are you Dad's girlfriend now? Lena nearly choked on her ice cream. Ethan laughed. Why do you ask? Lena managed. Because you're always here, and you make Dad happy. Emma says that means you're dating. Emma again, Ethan muttered.
Lena looked at him, eyes dancing. Well, what? Are we dating? Ethan grinned. I don't know, are we? You're impossible. That's not an answer. Lena rolled her eyes. Then she looked at Sophie. Yeah, I guess we are. Sophie beamed. Good, because I like you. I like you too, kiddo. They finished their ice cream and walked home through the park. Sophie ran ahead, chasing pigeons and climbing on benches. Ethan and Lena followed, hands linked. This is nice, Lena said.
Yeah, it is. Think it'll last? I hope so. Me too. But peace never lasted long. 2 days later, Ethan got a call from Torres. We have a problem. What kind of problem? The kind where key witnesses start disappearing. Ethan's blood went cold. Who? 3 people who were supposed to testify against Sentinel's executives, gone. No trace. Are they dead? We don't know, but it's not looking good. Torres paused. Mr. Calder, I need to ask. Is Miss Hart safe?
Ethan looked across the room where Lena was working on her laptop. She's with me. Keep her that way, and increase security. Whoever's doing this isn't playing around. Ethan hung up and told Lena everything. She went pale. They're cleaning up loose ends. Yeah. Which means I'm next. No, you're not. Ethan grabbed his phone and called Graves. I need triple security. Armed, 24/7. On it.
He turned back to Lena. You're not going anywhere alone. Not until this is over. Ethan, I mean it. I'm not losing you. She stared at him, then nodded. Okay. The security arrived within hours. 6 guards rotating shifts, cameras on every entrance, panic buttons installed in every room. It felt like living in a fortress. But Ethan didn't care. 3 days later, another witness disappeared. Then another.
The FBI scrambled to protect the remaining ones, but it was clear someone inside had access to their locations. There's a leak, Torres admitted during a conference call. We're trying to find it, but until we do, everyone's at risk. So what do we do? Ethan asked. We move Ms. Hart, somewhere secure, somewhere no one knows about. Where? That's classified. Lena shook her head. I'm not hiding again. Ms. Hart, I spent 3 years hiding. I'm done. She looked at Ethan. If they want me, they'll have to come through you. Torres sighed. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. The call ended. Ethan and Lena sat in silence. You don't have to do this, Ethan said finally. Yes, I do. Why? Because running didn't save me last time, and it won't save me now. She met his eyes. I'm staying, and I'm testifying, and they can't stop me. Ethan wanted to argue, but he saw the determination in her face and knew it would be pointless. All right, he said. Then we do this together. Together. 2 days before Lena's scheduled testimony, Ethan got a message. It was from an unknown number, no words, just a photo. Sophie, at school, playing on the playground. Ethan's hands shook as he stared at it. Then another message came through. Back off, or she's next. Ethan called Graves immediately. Get to Sophie's school, now. What's wrong? Just go, and don't let her out of your sight. Graves didn't argue. Ethan grabbed his keys and ran. He made it to the school in 12 minutes, a drive that should have taken 20. Graves was already there, standing outside Sophie's classroom with 2 other guards. She's safe, Graves said. I've got her. Ethan pushed past him and into the classroom. Sophie looked up from her desk, confused. Dad? He pulled her into a hug, not caring that her entire class was staring. We're going home, he said. But now. Sophie's teacher stepped forward. Mr. Calder, is everything all right? No, but it will be. He looked at her. Sophie's not coming back until I say it's safe. I don't understand. You don't need to.
He carried Sophie out of the building. She didn't protest. Maybe she could feel how scared he was. In the car, she said, "Dad, what's wrong?" "Nothing, kiddo. I needed to see you." "Are the bad people back?"
Ethan's throat was tight. "Yeah, but I won't let them hurt you. I promise." That night, he called an emergency meeting. Lena, Catherine, Michelle, Torres, Graves, everyone who mattered. "They threatened Sophie," he said without preamble. "Sent me a photo of her at school." Torres swore. "We need to move both of you, now." "No. Ethan, I'm not running, and I'm not letting them win." He looked around the room. "But I need options, real ones." Graves spoke up. "We move Sophie somewhere secure, out of state. I've got contacts who can keep her safe." "I'm not sending my daughter away." "Then you're putting her at risk." Ethan closed his eyes. Graves was right. He knew Graves was right, but the idea of sending Sophie somewhere he couldn't protect her. Catherine put a hand on his shoulder. "I'll go with her." He looked up. "What?" "I'll take Sophie. We'll go somewhere safe, somewhere no one can find us." She met his eyes. "You trust me?" "Of course." "Then let me do this." Ethan's chest ached, but he nodded. "Okay." They left the next morning, Catherine, Sophie, and 4 guards. Ethan watched them drive away and felt like his heart was being ripped out. Sophie had cried, begged to stay, but Ethan had held her and whispered that it was only for a little while, that he'd come get her as soon as it was safe. He didn't know if that was true. Lena found him standing in the empty driveway an hour later. "You okay?" she asked. "No." She put her arms around him. "She'll be safe." "I know, but that doesn't make this easier." "Nothing about this is easy." They stood there for a long time, holding each other. Then Ethan's phone rang. Torres. "We found the leak," she said. "It was one of ours, junior agent. Sentinel paid him off." "Where is he now?" "In custody and talking." Torres paused. "He gave us names, locations, everything. We're moving tonight." "On who?" "Everyone. Every Sentinel operative still out there. Every conspirator, every person who helped cover this up." Her voice was hard. "By tomorrow, they'll be done." Ethan closed his eyes. "Good. One more thing. We need Lena to testify tomorrow. Emergency session. Can she be ready?" Ethan looked at her. She nodded. "She'll be there," he said. The hearing room was smaller than Ethan expected. Federal Courthouse, downtown Boston, 9th floor. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, rows of empty seats that would soon fill with reporters and attorneys and people whose entire careers depended on what happened in the next few hours. Lena sat beside him, hands folded in her lap, staring straight ahead. She'd barely slept. Neither had he. "You ready?" he asked quietly. "No." "You'll do great." She turned to look at him. "What if I freeze? What if I forget something important?" "Then you take a breath and keep going. That's all anyone can do." "That's not very comforting." "I know, but it's true." Torres appeared in the doorway. 5 minutes, Ms. Hart." Lena nodded. Ethan squeezed her hand. She squeezed back, then stood and followed Torres inside. Ethan watched her go, feeling helpless. This was her fight now. All he could do was sit here and hope she survived it. Michelle slid into the seat beside him. "How's she doing?" "Scared, but ready." "Good. That's the right combination." Michelle handed him a coffee. "Drink. You look like hell." "Thanks." "I mean it. When's the last time you ate?" Ethan tried to remember. "Yesterday, maybe." "That's not good enough. After this, we're getting you real food. After this, I'm getting Sophie back." Michelle smiled. "Fair." The hearing started at 9. The room filled quickly, press in the back, FBI personnel along the sides, attorneys everywhere. Ethan recognized some of them. High-powered defense lawyers representing what was left of Sentinel's leadership. They looked confident, too confident. That worried him. Lena was sworn in. She looked small in the witness chair, dwarfed by the room and the cameras and the weight of everything riding on her testimony. But when she started talking, her voice was steady. She told them about Jordan, about the leaked documents, about Daniel Cross and how he'd been killed 3 days after discovering evidence of corruption. She described the investigation that had destroyed her career, the threats that had forced her into hiding, the 3 years she'd spent invisible, And then she told them about Sentinel. The room went silent as she detailed the connections. Financial transfers, encrypted communications, meetings between Sentinel executives and government officials who'd covered up the leak. She named names, produced documents, connected dots that no one else had been able to connect. By the time she finished, 2 hours had passed. The defense attorneys looked less confident. Cross-examination was brutal. They went after her credibility, her motives, her relationship with Ethan. They tried to paint her as a disgraced employee with an axe to grind, someone willing to lie to salvage her reputation. But Lena didn't break. When they accused her of fabricating evidence, she calmly explained how every document had been verified by independent forensic analysts. When they questioned her timeline, she pulled out her passport and travel records. When they suggested she was romantically involved with Ethan, and therefore biased, she looked the attorney dead in the eye and said, "My personal life has nothing to do with the fact that your clients committed murder." The attorney sat down. By noon, it was over. The panel thanked Lena for her testimony and dismissed her. Ethan met her in the hallway. She looked exhausted, wrung out, but there was something different in her face. Relief, maybe. Or freedom. "You were incredible," he said. "I was terrified." Didn't show. She laughed. Shaky, but real. "I need to sit down." They found a quiet corner away from the cameras. Michelle brought water. Torres appeared with an update. "The panel's deliberating now," she said. "But between your father's evidence and Lena's testimony, I think we've got them." "How long until we know?" Ethan asked. "Could be hours. Could be days." Torres looked at Lena. "You did good in there." "Thanks. I mean it. A lot of people would have crumbled. You didn't." Lena nodded, too tired to respond. Torres left. Ethan and Lena sat in silence, waiting. The verdict came 3 hours later. The panel recommended indictments for 11 more Sentinel executives and associates, including the man from Dubai. Charges ranged from conspiracy to obstruction of justice to accessory to murder, and they recommended a full investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death of James Calder. Ethan read the statement twice, hands shaking. His father. They were finally investigating his father. Lena put her hand on his shoulder. "You okay?" "Yeah, just..." His voice broke. "It's real now." "It was always real." "I know, but now everyone else knows, too." The press conference happened an hour later. Torres stood at a podium flanked by federal prosecutors, reading a prepared statement about the charges, the investigation, and the importance of holding powerful organizations accountable. Ethan stood in the back with Lena, watching. When Torres finished, a reporter shouted a question. "Agent Torres, is it true that Sentinel Solutions was involved in the death of James Calder?" Torres didn't flinch. "That's part of an ongoing investigation. I can't comment at this time." "What about Lena Hart? Is she being charged with anything?" "No, Ms. Hart has been fully cooperated with federal authorities and is not a suspect in any wrongdoing." "So she was framed." "The evidence suggests Ms. Hart was wrongly accused, yes." Another reporter jumped in. "Mr. Calder, how do you respond to allegations that you used your family's resources to pursue a personal vendetta?" Ethan stepped forward before Torres could stop him. "This was never personal. It was about finding the truth. My father died under suspicious circumstances. Lena Hart's partner was murdered. Sentinel Solutions has been operating with impunity for years, and no one was willing to stop them." He paused. "So yeah, I used my resources, and I'd do it again." "What about your daughter? Reports say she's in hiding." My daughter is safe, and she'll stay that way until every person responsible for threatening her is behind bars." "Do you regret going public?" Ethan looked at Lena. She gave him a small nod. "No," he said. "I don't regret any of it." The questions kept coming, but Torres stepped in and ended the conference. Ethan and Lena slipped out a side exit before the reporters could follow. In the car, Lena said, "That was brave." "That was stupid. My lawyers are going to kill me." "Probably, but it was still brave." Ethan smiled despite himself. "Yeah, well, I learned from the best." They drove back to his house in silence. The security team was still there, still rotating shifts, but the tension felt different now, lighter. Inside, Ethan collapsed onto the couch. Lena sat beside him. "What happens now?" she asked. "We wait. For the indictments to come through, for the trial, for..." He stopped. "For life to go back to normal." You think it will?
No, but we can pretend. Lena leaned her head against his shoulder. I'm okay with that. They sat there for a long time, neither of them talking, just existing in the quiet. Then Ethan's phone rang. Catherine. She wants to talk to you, his mother said when he answered. Put her on. A moment later, Sophie's voice came through. Dad? Ethan's chest tightened. Hey, kiddo, you okay? Yeah. Grandma took me to the beach today. We found shells. That sounds fun.
When can I come home?
Soon, I promise.
How soon?
A few more days,
Maybe a week.
Sophie was quiet. Then she said, I miss you. I miss you too, Soph. So much.
Is Lena there?
Ethan glanced at her.
Yeah, you want to talk to her?
Yeah.
He handed over the phone. Lena's face softened as she listened.
Hey, Sophie. Yeah, I'm here. Your dad's doing great. We both are. She paused. I miss you too. And yeah, I promise, when you get back, we'll do something fun. Whatever you want. Another pause. Okay, love you too. She hung up and handed the phone back. She said she loves you, Ethan said quietly. Lena's eyes were wet. I know. You okay with that? Yeah, I am.
They ordered takeout and ate on the couch, watching bad TV and pretending the world outside didn't exist. For a few hours, it almost worked. The indictments came down 2 days later. 11 people arrested. Sentinel Solutions officially dissolved. Assets frozen. The news played on repeat, every channel covering the story, analysts debating what it meant for private military contractors, politicians scrambling to distance themselves from anyone connected to Sentinel. Ethan watched it all with a strange sense of detachment. This was what winning looked like. But it didn't feel the way he'd expected. You're quiet, Lena said, joining him in front of the TV. Just thinking. About? About how many people had to get hurt before we got here. Daniel, my father, you. He looked at her. Was it worth it? Yes. How can you be sure? Because we stopped them. Because other people won't have to go through what we did. She took his hand. And because we're still here, that counts for something. Yeah, I guess it does. The trial was set for 6 months out, plenty of time for the defense to prepare, plenty of time for Ethan and Lena to rebuild, and plenty of time to bring Sophie home. Catherine and Sophie returned a week later. Ethan picked them up from a private airfield outside the city, security still tight, but less suffocating than before. Sophie ran to him the moment she saw him, and Ethan caught her, lifting her off the ground. I missed you so much, he said into her hair. I missed you too, Dad. He set her down and she immediately turned to Lena. You're still here! Lena crouched down. Of course. I promised, didn't I? Sophie hugged her. Lena hugged back, and Ethan saw his mother watching with an expression he couldn't quite read. Later, after Sophie was in bed, Catherine pulled him aside. You did good, she said. Thanks. I mean it. Your father would be proud. Ethan's throat was tight. You think so? I know so. She paused. He made mistakes. We all did. But you finished what he started. That matters. I couldn't have done it without you. No, you couldn't have. Catherine smiled faintly. But you would have tried anyway. That's the Calder stubbornness. Is that a compliment? Take it however you want. She left, and Ethan stood there, staring at nothing. His father was gone. That wouldn't change. But maybe, just maybe, they'd gotten him some measure of justice. That had to be enough. 3 months passed. The case moved forward. More arrests, more testimony. The defense tried every trick they had, but the evidence was overwhelming. And slowly, life started to feel normal again. Ethan stepped back from the day-to-day operations of the company, handing more control to a new board he actually trusted. He spent more time with Sophie, coached her soccer team, helped with homework, showed up to school events without his phone glued to his hand. Lena started working as an independent consultant. Corporate clients, nonprofit organizations, anyone who needed someone fluent in 8 languages and unafraid of difficult conversations. She was good at it, better than good. And somewhere in the middle of rebuilding their lives, they fell into a rhythm, dinners together, weekends with Sophie, Quiet nights where they didn't talk about Sentinel or trials or anything heavier than what movie to watch. It wasn't perfect. Lena still had nightmares. Ethan still woke up some mornings expecting another threat. Sophie asked questions they didn't always know how to answer, but they figured it out, together. 1 year after Lena's testimony, she was invited to speak at a conference on whistleblower protection. Ethan went with her, sitting in the audience while she stood on stage and told her story. She talked about the cost of speaking up, the fear, the isolation, the years she'd lost. But she also talked about what came after, the freedom, the relief, the knowledge that she'd done the right thing, even when it was hard. People ask me if I regret it, she said, if I do it again knowing what it would cost. And the answer is yes, because staying silent would have cost more. It would have cost my integrity, my sense of self, and eventually, it would have cost my life. She paused, scanning the crowd. So if you're sitting on the truth, if you know something's wrong, and you're scared to say it, I want you to know that you're not alone. It's terrifying. It might destroy everything you've built, but it's also the only way forward, because the truth doesn't stay buried forever. And when it comes out, and it will come out, you want to be on the right side of it. The room erupted in applause. Ethan stood, clapping until his hands hurt. After the conference, they walked through the city. It was early fall, the air crisp, leaves just starting to turn. You were amazing, Ethan said. I was nervous. Didn't show, Lena smiled. You always say that. Because it's always true. They walked in comfortable silence for a while. Then Lena said, I got a call yesterday from the State Department. Ethan looked at her. And? They want me back, full reinstatement, formal apology, the works. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. She stopped walking. But I'm not going to take it. Why not?
Because I don't want that life anymore. I spent years trying to get it back, and now that I can... She shook her head. It doesn't fit. I'm not the same person I was. What do you want instead? Lena looked at him. This. What we have. Building something new instead of trying to resurrect something dead. Ethan pulled her close. I can work with that. She kissed him. Good. Because you're stuck with me. I'm okay with that. They walked home hand in hand, and for the first time in a long time, Ethan felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The trial concluded 6 months later. Guilty verdicts across the board. Sentinel's remaining executives were sentenced to decades in prison. The company's assets were liquidated, with a portion going to victim compensation funds. And the investigation into James Calder's death was officially reopened, this time with full federal resources. Ethan didn't know if they'd ever prove his father was murdered, but knowing someone was finally looking, that mattered. On the anniversary of his father's death, Ethan visited the grave with Sophie and Lena. They brought flowers. Sophie told her grandfather about school, about soccer, about the new treehouse Ethan had built in the backyard. Lena stood back, giving them space. But when Sophie ran ahead to explore the cemetery, Lena joined Ethan at the gravestone. You think he'd approve? Ethan asked. Of everything we did? I think he'd be proud. Even though it nearly destroyed the company? Especially because of that. Lena touched the gravestone. He tried to do the right thing. You finished it. That's what matters. Ethan nodded. Yeah, I think you're right. They stood there for a while longer, the three of them, before heading home. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Ethan and Lena sat on the back porch. The stars were out, bright and clear. Can I ask you something? Lena said. Sure. Do you ever wish we'd done this differently? Stayed quiet, kept our heads down, just moved on? Ethan thought about it. Sometimes, when I think about how scared Sophie was, or how close we came to losing everything. He looked at her. But then I think about where we are now, and I know we made the right choice. Even though it was hard? Especially because it was hard. He took her hand. The easy choice would have been to let them win, but we didn't. We fought, and we won. We did, didn't we? Yeah, we did. Lena leaned against him. So what now? Now we live, really live, not just survive. And if something else comes up, another fight? Ethan smiled. Then we fight that too, together. Together, Lena echoed. They sat there under the stars, holding each other, And Ethan realized something. This was what winning looked like. Not perfection, not some grand finale where everything tied up neatly, just two broken people who'd chosen to stand up when it would have been easier to stay down, who'd risked everything for the truth and somehow made it to the other side. And maybe that was enough. No, it was definitely enough. 6 months later, Ethan announced the creation of the James Calder Foundation for whistleblower protection. Funded by a portion of his personal fortune, it provided legal support, financial assistance, and security resources for people who spoke up against corruption. Lena joined as executive director. Catherine sat on the board. And within a year, they'd helped protect 23 people who otherwise would have been destroyed for telling the truth. It wasn't world-changing, but it was something. And for Ethan, that was the point. You didn't have to save everyone, you just had to save someone. On Sophie's 8th birthday, they threw a party in the backyard. Friends from school, family, neighbors. Normal. Ordinary. Perfect. Sophie blew out her candles and made a wish. When Ethan asked what she'd wished for, she grinned. I can't tell you. It won't come true. Fair enough. Later, after everyone had left and Sophie was asleep, Ethan found Lena cleaning up the kitchen. Thank you, he said. She looked up. For what? For everything. For fighting. For staying. For making this... He gestured around. For making this possible. Lena set down the dish she was washing and crossed to him. You did that, not me. We did it together. Yeah, we did. She kissed him, soft and slow, and Ethan wrapped his arms around her. This was it. This was what he'd been fighting for, not justice, not revenge, not even the truth. Just this. A life built on honesty. A family that chose each other. A future that wasn't dictated by fear. And standing there in his kitchen, holding the woman who'd helped him find his courage, Ethan knew one thing for certain. He'd do it all again, every terrifying, impossible moment, because some things were worth fighting for. And this messy, imperfect, beautiful life was one of them.